Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here, having returned from Saratoga during the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. We do want to take a look back at the feature race of that week, of course, the 157th Belmont Stakes. Mike, there were some great racing throughout the week, some things that maybe were not ideal, some races canceled, taken off the turf. Said the Saturday car definitely did not go according to plan. But when you get treated to a race like the Belmont Stakes, kind of washes all of that negativity away. And I think the race itself is what we're going to remember from this Belmont Stakes week.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's nothing you can do about the weather. And it's really unfortunate that it didn't work out in our favor. But we got the race that we wanted in the Belmont Stakes. The first three finishers from the Derby were here, and they all showed up, David. This was a really good race.
We got the exact same trifecta as in the Kentucky Derby repeated in this Belmont Stakes. But Mike, we talked about in the Kentucky Derby how the result wasn't exactly a conclusive one because it felt like trips maybe determined the outcome to some extent. It was a conclusive outcome to this Belmont Stakes, and we're watching the race unfold at this point. And Mike, as they head into the clubhouse turn here, I thought it was a relatively clean run for just about everybody in the race, as expected. Rodriguez and Crudo headed out towards the front end. Crudo not applying so much pressure, and it was a moderate pace. But Mike, I don't know about you, when I was watching this point in the race, and I saw Sovereignty sitting in the pocket about third ahead of his two main rivals, I thought to myself, this horse might be tough to beat from here.
Yeah, around the first turn, Junior really got him to secure that inside position and behind the lead. And from there, I'm with you, David. Watching him go up the backstretch, I just thought this field's in pretty big trouble if this horse is going to be able to pull trips like this. And you're right, the race was clean. You're not going to see any troubled trips in this race. The pace was not fast. And so certainly that helped Sovereignty and Journalism stay right up close in here. This is where the race is starting right now. Into the final turn, they're going to start racing right here. The pace really picks up. Journalism goes first, just like in the Derby. Junior Alvarado goes right behind him, follows him into the stretch, and then it's just a question of whether or not he's going to be able to gun him down. And boy, does he gun him down.
Yeah, I know some people were wondering if maybe Umberto Rispoli moved a little too soon on Journalism, taking the race over right here. I wouldn't say that. I mean, the way Journalism finished off this race, it's not like he was ever stopping at the end. You could just see once Sovereignty is peeled out at the top of the stretch and Junior Alvarado gets him to switch over to that right lead and really asks him to finish, he just has a turn of foot that Journalism lacks. These are both strong finishers, but Sovereignty is able to quicken the cadence of his stride through the stretch in a way that Journalism is just unable to match. And he just rockets past that rival and is able to win this race going away at the end. As I said, same trifecta as the Kentucky Derby, but larger margins between all of them. And Mike, as you could see from the full order of finish here, I mean, pretty conclusive result. Sovereignty beating Journalism. Baeza third in the Kentucky Derby, third again here. He just never looked like he was traveling, like he was going to be a real threat to the top two in this race.
Yeah, this wasn't as good a performance, I didn't think, from Baeza as maybe the Derby one was, where he had a little bit of trouble and really ran late. He worked really hard from a long way out here just to keep up with those two horses in front of him, and he did stay on really well. He does seem like a horse who distance, he's really fine with distance. At this stage of the game, at least, he's not as good as either Sovereignty or Journalism. And as far as the 1-2 finishers go, I mean, listen, I'm starting to feel bad now for Umberto Rispoli because, I feel like he made some pretty big mistakes in the Preakness, but people still kind of want to blame the Derby and now the Belmont loss on him a little bit, and that's just totally wrong. He didn't do anything wrong in either of those races. He just got beat.
People always try to look for excuses as to why they were wrong about a race. I know there's maybe a bigger fan base for Journalism than there is for Sovereignty. You kind of understand why that's the case, given the heroics of the Preakness victory, even though it came against a weaker field than what Sovereignty beat in both of his Triple Crown race wins. So you're always looking for some excuse as to why Journalism might be able to turn the tables on his foe. The bottom line is, Mike, these are two really talented horses. And at this point in time, it does kind of feel like Sovereignty has Journalism's number. And if Sovereignty is able to place himself as tactically as he was in this Belmont Stakes in his races moving forward, he's going to be really tough to beat moving on through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'll agree with all that. I don't have anything to add to that. They're both really good. As of now, Sovereignty's the better horse of the two. And just, you're right. The mile and a quarter too just feels like it really plays to his strengths. I mean, this was, again, the pace wasn't fast, but the first quarter, they sort of went for position. So Sovereignty had to run a little bit to get where he wanted to be. And then that final quarter mile of this race, you could just see this horse sort of level off once he got into the clear, run right by Journalism. And that was a fast final quarter mile going 10 furlongs. This horse is really good. he's going to be a handful no matter where he shows up the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think I posted the furlong by furlong splits for Sovereignty from the GPS tracking on my Twitter account at Horse to Watch. His final 2/8 of a mile in this race, just isolated on Sovereignty, 11.74 and 11.95 for a 23.69 final quarter mile. That is the kind of closing split you rarely see in a dirt race, period, but especially in a mile and a quarter dirt race at this level, especially one with a legitimate pace like this feature. They were not crawling in the early stages, allowing him to save that energy for the end. He ran hard every step of the way and still was able to produce that kick. So just an incredible effort from the winner. You can see the payouts here. Sovereignty went off at a clean 5-2, paying $7 even to win the race. Nothing really surprising in these payouts. Mike, these were the three that took all the money. Maybe not as short of prices as they would have been if this were a random race on a Wednesday, because the long shots did not go off as large prices as they should have. But we've come accustomed to seeing that in the Triple Crown races, and not too many surprises in these payouts.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I think that I don't feel like they made any mistakes betting the race here. Journalism going favor. Yeah, that's fine. He had been sort of the leader of this division. He was favored in all three Triple Crown races, and he showed up in all three Triple Crown races. But he won't be favored the next time they run against each other. It doesn't seem like Sovereignty. He took all the money he was supposed to take in here, and he ran to it.
Well, Sovereignty got a 109 buyer for the victory in this Belmont Stakes, and we'll take a look at how that stacks up against some recent winning buyers in this race, going back over the past decade or so. I went back 11 years all the way to the Triple Crown victory by American Pharoah. Now, obviously, the years 2024 and 2025, as well as 2020, should maybe have an asterisk next to them because they were not run at the traditional mile-and-a-half distance that the Belmont Stakes has been run at for many years, going back decades. So, Mike, maybe the 109 buyer would not have been the same if this race had been run at the mile-and-a-half distance, though it doesn't feel like Sovereignty or Journalism are the types that would have any trouble with extra distance if this Belmont had been run at its traditional trip. But still, looking at this entire list, there are some good horses that have won this race in the past 10 to 15 years. And Sovereignty's 109 buyer is one of the fastest winning buyers that we've seen in any Triple Crown race going back over the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, it stacks up really, really well here. I mean, there were two Triple Crown winners on that list, David, and they didn't run 109s, 101 for Justify, 105 for American Pharoah. I guess, most of the talk now going forward would be, could Sovereignty have been a Triple Crown winner too? They decided not to go for it, but certainly feels like he could have won the Triple Crown if they had tried to run him in all three races.
Yeah, it seemed like Belmont was getting a little annoyed by every reporter asking him that question after the victory. Did he have any regrets about not running in the Preakness? I mean, it's hard to say. They had every opportunity to run in the Preakness. It seemed like the horse was doing fine right up on through the interim between the Derby and the Belmont Stakes. They just made it pretty clear right from the start. They had no interest in going after the Triple Crown. So I don't think you could say that you have any regrets at this point. But I think now we can look to the future, Mike, and get over all the talk about the Triple Crown, because these are two really talented horses that I think everybody who's a fan of this sport is looking forward to future battles between them. Who knows? Sovereignty clearly is better at this point in time, but we've seen plenty of 3-year-olds become different horses in the second half of the season, or improve a lot from June to August and September by the time we get to the Breeders' Cup. So I would not be surprised if Journalism, once he recovers from this heavy workload that he endured during the Triple Crown, is able to give Sovereignty more of a challenge over the summertime. But we're taking a look at the past performances of both of them here, Mike, and it feels like this is one of the better 3-year-old crops, at least towards speaking of the talent towards the top, that we've seen going back to maybe the early 2000s, 2007, 2009 were considered some really good crops. This one might stack up against those.
Yeah, you're right. The at the top is particularly, this is a very top heavy crop of 3-year-olds, but the ones that are up there are really, really good. I think now I guess we just wait, David, because your points are well taken about Journalism. He still, he did more racing. He didn't get the breaks in between that Sovereignty did. And so he could certainly make this closer when they meet up again. So the question now is, when do they meet up again? Is it just at the Breeders' Cup? Are we going to see Journalism come back east to run in a race like the Travers? I don't think that we will, but if we do, that would be very interesting. And if not, we'll have a real treat waiting for us at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, it sounds like nothing is set in stone yet, but I was closely reading all of the reporting that came in last weekend from Dave Gretting, our colleague, and other reporters. Mike McCarthy sounds like he's interested in coming to the Travers, at least at this point in time. He was even mentioning, after recuperating California, bringing journalism back for the Jim Dandy to face Sovereignty twice this summer. That would be a real sporting gesture. We'll see if they stick to that, but because that seems like a pretty ambitious plan to intentionally try to face your toughest rival twice. That's not the way most top traders handle their horses these days, but I know that fans of this sport would love to see it because it does feel like there could be a budding rivalry here between the two. Mike, it's been really tough. It's been really fun covering this Triple Crown season with you. I mean, we were treated to some really great races. The Derby was super interesting. The Preakness was so exciting with journalism winning, and I think we got the conclusion, the decisive conclusion we're all waiting for in this Belmont Stakes.
Yeah, more than anything else. And listen, I think the takeaway probably is how good Sovereignty was on Saturday. At least that was my takeaway. Yeah. But I'm also just really glad that we got the 1, 2, 3 finish from the Derby, not only to run on Saturday, but they all showed up. I mean, they all really ran well in there. And I think we got the definitive conclusion to this series that we wanted and that we deserved, and we got it.
Well, everybody, thanks for following the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel through all of the Triple Crown races in the lead up to the Kentucky Derby. We really appreciate you watching. We've got a ton of great coverage planned in the horse racing calendar through the rest of the year, so make sure to subscribe. And also leave us a comment about what you thought of this Belmont Stakes from last weekend, your impressions of the winner Sovereignty, and if you're looking forward to seeing these top two finishers do battle for the rest of the year. Everybody, thanks for watching on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel.